hello everyone. Welcome to today's session. I'm super excited. Today we are talking about how to upgrading from Web 2.0 to Web 3. And I'm super excited because we are with Pedro Lucas, who is a Web 3 expert. So, hey Pedro, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon. All good, and
Very
you?
excited to have you with us today. Pedro will be, of course, leading the workshop today. He have a lot of things to cover, and I'm sure this will be an amazing session. So, welcome all. My name is Valentina, and I'm from Iowa. I'm from the marketing team here in Ironhack. And yeah, I mean, before we start, I would love to highlight some things, okay, before our session. The first one, guys, is that this webinar it's been recorded, okay? So no worries at all. If you guys maybe need to leave earlier or maybe need to go and grab a coffee, feel free. You guys will be able to see the whole recording tomorrow, okay, on your email at this same hour. Okay, what else? About this virtual experience, if you guys are in a computer, you are seeing like different widgets on your screen, okay, and a toolbar below your screen, okay. So what are those? Basically, I will highlight the ones that are like the most important ones for the session. So the first one is speaker's bio, okay. This is all the information about Pedro, okay. Feel free to dig into it. But anyway, Pedro will introduce himself in a while. But in there, you guys will find who is him, what he does, and very important, where to connect with him. Okay, you guys have the links to his LinkedIn, his email, his Twitter. So feel free to connect with him. He will be more than happy. Then we have ask your question here section, okay? So this is super key, okay? Because we know that you guys usually have many questions, and I'm sure you will have, because today, as I said, we will have a lot of content. So Pedro will be answering all of your questions, okay? He will take like some breaks from one topic to another to ask for the questions, okay? So we will not let the questions at the end. We will be we will be answering questions, sorry, on each of those breaks, okay? So Pedro for sure will let you know, like, hey guys, you have any questions? And then you guys please let us the questions in here in this section, because it happens a lot that if you guys put the questions in the chat, it gets lost, okay? Then we have related content. Okay, this is very important, guys, because Pedro not only prepared an amazing session, he also prepared very nice resources for us. So in there, you guys will be able to find the presentation that Pedro is going through. It's gonna be presenting today. Okay, and also a link to their spaces. And this is a very nice surprise that Pedro have for you. I will let him actually tell you about this, but this link will be very important at the end of the session, okay? Then we have the chat, guys. So if you don't see the chat, no worries. This is super normal. You need to go to the toolbar that you guys have below your screen and click on Ironhack chat, okay? Once you have done that, you will see like the chat will pop up. We would love to keep this chat very active, so feel free to, like to say hi in the chat, to share with us where you guys are connecting from. That's usually something that we love to read. Okay, we usually have a very international audience, so it's always very nice to know where all of you are based on. All right. And well, just right before we start, I would love to give you a little bit of an Ironhack intro, okay? Basically, for some of you that maybe don't know those, okay? We are basically a tech school, guys, okay? We are very disruptive, and we are teaching in-demand tech skills of the future, but today. And how we are doing this? We are doing this through boot camps. Boot camps are basically very intensive and immersive education, very focused on learning by doing, okay? We have two type of courses, one that it's full-time, that it lasts 9 weeks, and another one that it's part-time, that it lasts 24 weeks. Okay, as you can see with the timing, this is how you can see how immersive and intensive it is. We are very focused on outcomes. Okay, we really want to make sure that all of our students are job ready to thrive in their tech career of their dreams, or even to build their own products. We have basically four type of courses. Okay, we have web development, UX UI design, data analytics, and cyber security. Okay. Basically, as I said at the beginning, we are worldwide. That's, I think, the reason why we usually have people from all over the world. We have now 9 different campuses plus remote. And that, of course, allowed us to reach many, many, many people. And of course, thanks to that is what right now we have a 10,000 alumni around the club. And of course, we have a very supportive global community. So, well, I would love to say just let's get started, okay? So, Pedro, this is all on you now. Very excited to hear this session.
Hey, okay. So, my name is Pedro. I'm a Web3 enthusiast above all. I've worked in IT since I was about 20 or even before. I've done a bit of things, many different roles, but always oscillating between the business side and the technical side. So, in overall, my skill is business analyst, and now I'm pivoting more to product manager. Yeah, so I've been around crypto and Web3 for a year and a half, and I really decided to commit my career to it. So yeah, this is really just going to be a sharing of a lot of wide ranges of things. So maybe I can share my slide here. Okay, so this is really just have my links. I'm very available to connect, to network with you now in the end and going forward. And I'm just going to go straight to the topics that we have. So I split contents in these little chapters here. And there's a little introduction here saying that the document is a bit loaded, overloaded with links. I understand that. That's why I'm here to talk you through all of them. And some of them are more like just text. I'm going to talk you through the concepts, for example, on this area here for the concepts for users. Others are more browsing intensive. We're going to start with a demo. So I'm going to browse through Web3 and jump right in, see it hands-on. And in the end, like Valentina was saying, I would challenge you to, because we're going to go over a section which is networking, next steps, how's the job market here, and where do you get knowledge. And a lot of that knowledge comes, it may sound simple, but it really comes from YouTube and Twitter and all those things. So I am going to be hosting a small Twitter Spaces after 6 p.m. Portugal time, European time. And I would invite you to join. Okay. So you have the link on the widget, which is the related content widget on your dashboard there. Okay. So I am going to start sharing my screen. I'm actually going to switch off my camera for a second. And 1 second. There we go. You can see it, yes?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So, right.
Now we cannot see it.
Okay, 1 second.
And I will take this advantage in the meantime, Pedro, if you don't mind, just because I'm reading in the chat that some people it's asking about the document link. So basically in the related content section, you guys will find the link to the presentation, to the slide that Pedro did, okay? And once we finish the presentation, this document that he will be presenting will be there as well, okay? So no worries at all. It will be there once we finish, and of course it will be available in the replay.
Okay, great. So yeah, I took this approach of putting everything in this Google Doc, and I already have opened a few links there. This is really just the same content that you saw on the slides. I just wanted to emphasize this talk is aimed at a broad span of roles, whether you're in marketing or a developer, UX or product manager, or even just an enthusiast for crypto and Web3 in general. We're gonna go over a lot of different things. I made the decision not to share the whole document while we are in this talk, so bear with me as I walk you through it. In the end, yeah, like Valentina was just saying, I'm going to share this link inside the slides. So if you keep in touch with that, you'll be able to see this document pretty soon. Okay, so in terms of introduction, this is a very small chapter here, but we're going to go over the websites. And I really just wanted to start with a bit of context on Bitcoin adoption and crypto adoption. Being a foundation layer for Web3, crypto is quite important in everything that it's promoting and pushing forward. So if we take a look at this document, it's said that global Bitcoin adoption is planned to hit 10% by 2030. So it may take a while. It's growing slowly but surely. It has its ups and downs, as any investor will know. Also, by the way, this talk is not about trading. It's not about crypto itself. It's more about the use cases. But I wanted to show you here this type of perspective of, if you think Web3 is small, yes, it's beginning. It's already pretty advanced, as you're going to see from these types of platforms and the amounts that are being traded already and applied in decentralized finance, etc. But yeah, we're still just getting started, and the foreseeable future, according to this study, is that by 2030 we're going to be, growing by leaps and bounds. Also, it's usually compared the growth of crypto and Web3 to the other technology adoption curves. So if you see here, it's something that's growing, that will grow very, very quickly. And in the beginning, it's quite slow. Okay, so jumping into some websites, I'm going to show you a number of them. I'm just going to go straight into this one. So OpenSea is a platform that has to do with NFTs. My computer is just loading it. Bear with me a second. And when we land in this typical website, it just has the typical content of a website presenting what they do, etc. But you'll notice that on the corner you have an icon there to connect your wallet. So that's the typical thing for a Web3 website. NFTs, we're going to talk about them a bit in depth further ahead, but they're just digital collectors at this level. And yeah, so if I go in there and I click explore, I'm going to start seeing collections of things. And the thing about this website that I wanted to demo in terms of the Web3 context is that if I go into connect, second. Probably it's connecting to my MetaMask. So MetaMask is the wallet that is running in my browser. And let me give it a click as well to see if it's woken up. Okay, so you see there, this runs as a browser extension. It allows me to connect to the Ethereum mainnet or to the Matic or any other network that is compatible with this type of wallet. And there we go. So when I click the wallet, it tells me connect with one of your available wallets. I can select that I have MetaMask installed. So this is the website trying to talk with my browser to get some notion of who I am, what's my identity. If I tell the website that I want to use MetaMask instead of other that were down behind there, MetaMask interface pops up, and it's telling me that I'm going to give my account, which has this address there, to OpenSea. So my computer is in French because I've been studying French a lot. But if I do next, I'm giving permissions to this website to check my balances and start transactions. I'm going to do connect. This is not really doing any definitive action. Is really just giving it access. And now I can see my balance inside the website. So the website is now having access to the balance that I had on my MetaMask, which is on the browser level. So if I had any digital NFTs, any tokens or collectionables, they would start appearing in my wallet. And another thing that I wanted to point out here, if I go to my profile, we usually say that Web 1 was like where you just read the internet. Web 2 is when you logged in with a username and a password. And here, as you can see, I'm logged in with my wallet. I gave a link because I gave a nickname because I had already used this, but it doesn't really need any email of me. It doesn't need any, identifiable data of who I am. It's really just I am this wallet, and I have the keys inside my browser extension to prove that I can give orders to this wallet. And so OpenSea will allow me to do that. So let's move on. For Aave, Aave is a liquidity protocol. So if the first one was a bit funny, we were buying pictures, some people say we're just buying JPEGs. This one is a bit more like a crypto bank. And again, well, actually, this is what I wanted to illustrate. Here I'm on the website, which is sort of the institutional website. There's nothing special about this one. But if I go into the app, I need to agree with some terms. And we'll see that on this one, when I'm actually in the crypto bank, the first thing that it tells me is, who are you? Please connect your wallet. And I'm going to go through the same situation where I select which wallet I want to use. MetaMask starts interacting with me on behalf of, because the website asked MetaMask for access. I can give it access, and here's the permissions that I'm giving it. And now the Aave website can see my wallet, and I'm on the Polygon network, which is a different one. What I could do in here is literally come in and say, okay, I have one asset. I want to place them in a liquidity pool. These are notions that have to do a bit with the DeFi, the decentralized finance. We're not going to be covering those very much on this talk, but it's basically a crypto bank where you can deposit your assets and let them make some income for you for a while. And if other people come and borrow those assets, they need to leave a collateral that's very substantial compared to what they're taking, so that the platform is going to manage that loan completely in an intelligent way. So there's no one really managing the day-to-day flows, because smart contracts and crypto is doing the whole thing. Okay, so just to give you another example, this one is a bit simpler than Aave. It's called 3DeFi. It's a project that allows you to associate the same type of thing where you have a crypto wallet that you connect to a website. But in this case, it has this sort of a theme around being green and saving CO2 credits and etc. So if I go into the app, again, same thing. And in here, same type of products where you will be able to trade things or deposit your liquidity. Okay, I'm going to stop that one for now. So here is the simplest interface where if I had some of this token, I can select another token and I could try to make the transition from one to the other to convert it. Okay. These were all using the MetaMask web wallet, which is from the Ethereum blockchain and family of ecosystem. Here we have Sunday Swap, and this gives me an opportunity to show you a different wallet. So this one is Yoroi. It's from Cardano, which is one of the biggest blockchains, although Cardano has been criticized for being a bit late and slow on having some applications. Here I actually have a bit of a balance. This is like 50 cents each unit for now. And this is a different view of a crypto wallet. So I just wanted to show you this so that you have a feel of what is Web3 in terms of how do you manage what's in your pocket and what's in your wallets. If I switch to the transactions, I can see here that I received 30 ADA when my wallet was beginning. Then I actually delegated something and then I sent to someone. And here on these tabs, I could do sending and receiving. And there's also something here about voting where I can actually say to when there are proposals in the Cardano ecosystem, I can say, I agree with this proposal, I don't agree with this proposal. And well, in this case, I have such a small amount, it's not going to be very, very meaningful, but this is how the whole community works. The whole blockchain is built around this community. Okay, so this is the Yoroi wallet from Cardano. And what will happen if I come to Sunday Swap and go to the app? It's similar to the other two, similar to Aave, similar to TreeDefi, except the family of coins that I have here is a bit different because it's a different ecosystem. Okay, so if I come to the Connect Wallet button, I'm going to see a different range. Some of them are common, but mostly here I see a different range of wallets. And let me click that one. Yoroi, the wallet that I'm trying to use here is an experimental. It's probably not going to work, but it still asks me in a different interface, do you want to connect your Cardano demo wallet to this exchange? And I select the wallet, and here it files, which is something that I was expecting. But I just wanted to show you a different type of ecosystem. Okay. So I hope this gives you some feel of what is Web3 in terms of hands-on. It's basically wallets that you can have, and you can interact with websites as we saw there. Now, I wanted to take you over a bit of how Web3 differs from Web 1 and 2. And I'm going to use this post here, which is basically a report from a venture capital company called A16Z. They did a detailed report of the state of crypto, and we're just going to go over a few slides. So, like I was saying just now, the first era of the internet was fairly decentralized, and it was mostly read for websites. From the user's perspective, you could just read things. The second era was a bit more siloed, centralized services, websites where you start hearing about how Facebook owns all your data and etc. And most of the value was accrued to the tech companies that owned those websites. Now they say we are in the beginning of the third era of the internet, and it combines a bit of the decentralized thing that we had there with communities. We're going to talk about those in the end of the talk. And it allows us to do a lot of different dynamics of value. And they say we'll unlock a new era of creativity and entrepreneurship. Okay, so here again, we have the situation of how the decentralization of the internet can be very, very important. So instead of digital authoritarianism, you can have an internet that's a bit more, well, in this case, it's the lesser of two evils, because we are with these companies that are owning all of our things. So what's happening here in this type of situation is that over time, they initially are very kind to us, and they want to be cooperative, but in the end they become less cooperative and they become more extractive. So as they grow, they start leveraging on your data more and giving you less of things for free. It's the old, if you're not paying for it, you're the product conversation. So, and this is one of the most simple slides to envision what Web3 is, because there's these keywords here, where Web1 was just read, where you had the servers and you were just reading what's in there. In Web2, you are creating content and reading content from other people. And in Web3, you have all that as well, but the technologies are different. So most of these technologies are either they're going to adapt or they're not planning to come over. Facebook transitioning to Meta is a special case. Let's see how they do. But coming back to the main words here, you have read, write, and own. And this ownership, that's why I wanted to show you the wallets and etc. And we're going to see through cryptography, the fact that I have those little balances in my wallet, and I can have assets in there in the form of NFTs. It's really, really, really secure. And it's something that it's going to change how we interact. As you saw, even in some websites, imagine a Web3 social network. Instead of logging in with Facebook, I'm going to log in with my wallet. It's not that I'm going to be throwing money from my wallet into the social network. It's really because it's my identity. Okay. And it's going, everything that I create into a Web3 social network would be owned by my wallet and not by the platforms. Okay, so yeah, just going to cut it here. But as you can see, well, this is really just about the cooperation and a decentralized organizational structure, whether on a human level and on a technical level. Okay, so this was really just the introduction. I'm not going to ask you for questions here, but you can start thinking about them and throwing them in the QA. Now, to close on that, I wanted to focus here on this screen. I have no links for this screen, which is exactly the opposite of what the chapter that we just did. I'm just going to take you over some concepts. So, coins and tokens. Coin is basically, as we saw, we have the Ethereum blockchain, we have the Cardano blockchain, and a coin is the main currency in that blockchain. So in Ethereum, the main currency, or the only coin in Ethereum, is Ethereum. So I'm talking about the network and the currency. But there are endless other tokens that live in the Ethereum ecosystem. So they're like guest currencies in that same blockchain. For Cardano, the main coin is ADA, and there are countless other tokens there as guests. So in terms of usability, coins and tokens are basically the same thing for the user. And from the user's point of view, basically they are a balance in a wallet. So we're not, like I said, we're not talking so much about trading here. It's just, I bought 10 Cardanos, that's what I have in my wallet. And if you don't care how much a Cardano costs, you just know that you have 10 Cardanos there, and that's what you have. So one thing about these things, whether they're coins or tokens, is that since they are being negotiated and traded, if there is a high supply for them, their value in dollar terms may rise or come down. And here I wanted to talk to you a bit about how value flows from traditional finance, which is your current traditional banking, into crypto to be used in Web3. So there are some crypto exchanges in the middle of this, where if you currently have, the typical situation will be, how do I top up my crypto wallet? You would deposit money from your bank into a crypto exchange, which is a legal entity, and you can do a SEPA transfer or something to top up your exchange, which is usually centralized, but there are some decentralized as well. And eventually you would be able to withdraw that money or that crypto that you buy in the exchange from there to the Web3 platforms. Now, not sure if there's any questions. Valentina, feel free to interrupt me if we're accumulating too many questions.
Sure, we actually have a few, but not sure. Do you want me to let me know if you want me to read it so you can ask it now or later?
We can clarify them so that we don't accumulate a backlog there.
Okay,
I see one here from Lydia, which is asking who owns a wallet. And I'm just gonna,
okay.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, no, I was just about to select the first one. That is, do you need to own crypto to open a wallet?
No, not really, not at all, not at all. So those quick questions are really easy, because if you see here, I'm on my Yoroi, and if I just want to create, actually I'm not familiar with where's the button there to do it, but here we go, add a new wallet. So a wallet is literally just generated, sorry, a new wallet address is generated within my wallet app. And I can really just click here and it will create it, because it's really just another address. So it's like a fingerprint. It's like picking a random DNA fingerprint for me. And if I create it there, it will probably give me some recovery words and etc. So if I just give it a name and etc., but it's not owned by anyone. It's literally just what's magical about Web3 is that it's like about protocols and the ways of working. As long as my wallet is my wallet application is behaving in accordance to the blockchain of Cardano, if it's making sense, the way that it is communicating to the blockchain, it's really just going to work. And there's no regulatory organization. Obviously, in a broader scope of things, if the US government says that they want to regulate it, someone operating there may have to comply to a certain extent, but there are more and less regulation friendly blockchains. Okay. Any more questions?
Yes, we have. Do you choose the best wallet? I know it has to do with the type of blockchain you want to use, but no more.
Could you say again?
Sorry.
Oh.
Valerie is asking, how do you choose the best wallet?
Yeah. Well, you'll have to study a bit. Before the first thing is to study what blockchain do you want to use it in. So like I was demoing here, if I want to go to websites that are from the Cardano ecosystem, I want to use my Yoroi. If I want to go to other websites, I want to use MetaMask. So also there's a number of nuances about, in this case, we're going to go over this in a bit, but my keys are being stored in the machine in my browser in a way, in an encrypted way, but there are different degrees of ownership. So if you have your keys just on a ledger, which is sort of a pen drive, you can put that pen drive in a drawer and no one can touch them. If you have them in your computer, they're a bit more connected to the internet. And if you have your money on an exchange, it's basically just a balance on the exchange. So it's not crypto, it's not real crypto. Anything else?
Yes, let me send this to the slides. Alejandro is asking, is there any point of owning a wallet if you are not planning to trade or own crypto?
Well, eventually you're going to have to, you will want to move your crypto from place to place. But if you're really just buying to hold, you can really just put it in a ledger, which is a physical wallet, and save it in a drawer or in a vault or somewhere. What I was trying to explain just now, how things flow, is that you will basically have to come back to the traditional finance to spend your money for now. You can spend it in Web3 websites, but yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, we don't have any more questions, so we
Okay.
can go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through the rest because we have a lot of to cover here that I wanted to show you. So in terms of coins, we covered this section here. And now in terms of what the blockchain is, the same way that the Web3 is the next evolution of the web, you can see the blockchain as the next evolution of the cloud. So it's in public blockchains, servers are distributed around the globe and may be owned by mostly anyone who wants to contribute to that network. So it's not a matter of owning everything by Facebook or Amazon or something like that. So like I mentioned several times already, coming from different communities and slightly different technologies, technological approaches, there are many distinct networks operating in parallel, like we saw today, Yoroi, MetaMask, and countless others. And some of them articulate between each other using what we call bridges. So that's something that we're not going to be covering so much today as well. Most blockchains allow us to program or automate logics of how the tokens may flow. So like we saw there, for those websites, whoever developed those websites that we just saw, the Aave, the 3DeFi, etc., they developed their own logic for how the tokens would be flowing in and out and how they correspond and how they are matched in terms of prices to each other. Okay. So this type of automation may facilitate many use cases that were not possible in traditional finance. Okay, so it's a lot quicker and it's more secure in a way as well. So the main properties of blockchain as the next iteration of the cloud is that it's decentralized. And because it's decentralized, it's more secure and it's permissionless. So like I was saying, as long as I behave and I program something that's going to communicate with the blockchain in the right way, I do not need to ask for permission. I just send requests to the blockchain and that's it. And one thing that works a bit and that articulates a bit with how the value flows from traditional finance and etc. is that while I'm using a Cardano or an Ethereum website, I'm doing what I want with it, but sometimes I need to pay a small fee of my transactions. Sometimes it's bigger in Ethereum. And that fee actually flows all the way to the people that are running the servers. And so the blockchains, we can say they pay for themselves or we pay for them as we go with token incentives and fees. So that's it. As the end user is really flowing value even to the infrastructure. So as well, the crypto in Web3 will allow to create token-based economies for websites, platforms, communities, organizations. They can create their own currency and the rules for their tokens, as we're going to see further down as well. And this may radically change how everyone interacts and exchanges value. So if you used to have a website to sell houses or to sell used assets or something like that, you may really be selling physical assets in the real world, like the used assets websites that we all know, but you may have points in that platform, and those may be crypto points. Even the supermarket points may start being crypto. It's going to change a lot of things. Let's go straight into the diverse use cases here. So like I said, it's going to impact business models, subscriptions, advertisement, and etc. And I think I have another window here prepared for you. Yeah. So here, when we start going into the diverse use cases, we've already seen OpenSea, where you can collect arts and collectibles and membership cards or anything as NFTs, not in OpenSea, but NFTs will allow you to do these things. And one interesting thing, like I was saying about the intelligent money, is that even though an NFT may change hands countless times in OpenSea, it still always knows who the original author is. And there may be a percentage of that transaction that always reverts to the original author. So in terms of creativity and authors getting a part of what they built, this allows them to do a lot of different things. And the next topic is exactly a different use case where for music and media streaming, imagine Netflix or Spotify or anything, there's something called micropayments that this allows us to do, which again, traditional finance didn't allow us to do because there were different costs to moving money. Here, things are so fluent that you can actually do very, very, very small payments. And you can even create a music streaming platform where you never have a monthly fee. You just pay as you go, and that's it. You can pay almost by the minute. And also it has this property that since the content is organized as NFTs, from like we spoke here, the author, as I'm listening to Audios, for example, is a platform that can do this. As I'm listening to it, it's getting a bit of the value that I'm paying for listening to that music, sending it all the way to the author. So these things already exist. They may have, for example, just some artists here, but it's growing every day. Okay. Decentralized finance, we already saw 3DeFi and Aave, which are the lending and borrowing platforms. It's going to have a lot of other possibilities of use, for example, insurances and things like those. And going forward, I'm going to go into GameFi, where the same thing that we saw for DeFi can be refurbished, represented in a different way as gamified DeFi. And it's aimed at a young and fun audience. All they are managing real value. This sometimes results in weird situations where this 13-year-old was able to create something or was harvesting little, dolls somewhere, crypto things, and he made a lot of money because in Axie Infinity, it's something that in some cultures, some countries, they are actually making a full wage out of this. And again, it's a typical Web3 website where you log in with your wallet, you go around, and you're creating things. You're playing with these Pokemon-like little dolls. Okay, just going to close these to release my browser a bit. It's a bit loaded. I'm sorry for that. Next one, social tokens. A bit like I was talking just now about different organizations and etc. Football clubs, brands, and etc. already have in socios.com, for example, which is running on a specific blockchain, the possibility of you to buy tokens from the Barcelona Football Club, the Paris Saint-Germain, or something like that. And here, like I was explaining, they created their Paris Saint-Germain currency, and you can have X amount of those currencies. It's usually represented with this little $sign to prefix the handle, which is the token identifier there. And that's it. Sorry, my computer is really slow. I hope you can hear me okay. Now, metaverse. Metaverse is something that it's very ambiguous, and we don't really know what it's going to become, but we know that it's having adoption, especially, for example, here, Time Magazine has just associated with one of the metaverses, which is a sandbox, and they're creating, I think it's Times Square in the sandbox. Instead of Times Square, it's just Times Square. And it's really just a number of relationships that are being established between the Web2 world and Web3, or the traditional entities. It's one thing that's actually more symbolic of how this is changing things, because we never saw Time Magazine or something trying to create the next Facebook, but now in the metaverse or in Web3 solutions, they are interested in being there and conquering ground a bit. So also here I have a concept of decentralized autonomous organizations. It's a big acronym just to say that people can organize themselves, and either they create their own tokens, or they just start collaborating to create tools and create technology. There's this website here, which is one of the most oldest DAOs. Like I said, I made this document like this so that you can browse it in the end and really explore a number of things. So I invite you to come in and take a look at it. Okay, where are we? You're there. So that's it about the DAOs. You can see a lot of things in there. Picks and shovels is a term that was used when in the gold rush, where people were wanting to get gold, but some people were profiting on selling picks and shovels. And so what happens here is that because there's all this these solutions being established in blockchain, these two types of providers, they run their own independent blockchains that, in this case for oracles, they serve as a real world data bridge. So it could be weather data, it could be something like that. It may sound a bit simple. Okay, why do I want the weather data in the blockchain? But if you're thinking that you made a financial product that's an insurance, and you said that for this farmer in this geographic region, if it rains more than this, you get your insurance paid or not, then you start seeing why it's important that you have a very, very solid source of that data. That's what oracles do. There's a link here for a Chainlink. And in the same way, we're going to see to build a website in Web3, you're going to need to save your files somewhere. And so there are some data storage blockchains that allow you to host files instead of putting them in AWS or Web 2.0 cloud, which would be a bit redundant. So here we have one blockchain project, which is called VeChain, which is focusing a lot in supply chain. So supply chain is something that usually it's very data intensive. It's about recording how the cargo ships coming from across the world, and every product, where did it go, when was it stamped in all the steps of its route. So VeChain is recording those things in blockchain, not in the traditional types of solutions. Another use case for Web3 would be CBDCs, which I have this video here if you want to take a look, where most of the banks, of the central banks and governments, are already preparing digital versions of the euro, of the dollar, and in the end, a bit like I'm saying here in this type of diagram, if you don't care about Web3 for now, eventually Web3 is going to care about you. Eventually, if you don't want to use crypto, eventually your government's going to give you a digital euro to use, and that's okay. We're going to have to live with all the things in different pros and cons for everything. But as a technologist, if you're a developer or marketeer or anyone that's working in this line of business, it would be very interesting, I think, to start exploring things. So if you notice, I started here one of the most typical things that people talk about, and then I came in here to things that are not even financial applications. So there are countless benefits to using, well, pros and cons as for everything. But in this article, for example, the founder of Ethereum wrote about how the blockchain can be used. This is a bit technical, but it's quite interesting. And there's these main words there on how you can handle data, how you can record things, how you can make sure, for example, I even made a note on this one, how you make sure that, a bit like Bitcoin, there's only the 21 millions, it's never going to change. If you want to have those types of rules in a distributed environment or information system, blockchain can be very, very useful for it. So I really invite you to read through this document, and I'm going to close it for now. Also, before getting to theirs, Cardano, I don't know if I mentioned, but they're selling a solution for digital identity. So DID is also a big niche or functionality of blockchains, that it's not financial, necessarily financial, and that can, as an IT developer, especially this section here is something that I really invite you to read. And if you see there, here are some use cases for a lot of different sectors of industries. Proof of authenticity, like I was talking about, the supply chain, smart contracts. Smart contracts, we're going to see them almost everywhere because it's how we program value and rules into tokens. Okay, so here's the invitation to take a look there. And before we move on, you may have noticed that I'm not talking so much about Bitcoin. And there's these points here about why Bitcoin is so different from everything else. So I'm not going to go over them one by one, but just the top ones, the big ones, which is It's the most established cryptocurrency, so it's more stable. It has regulatory clarity, so it's not as volatile. It's still volatile, but it's a bit less than the other ones. And it's more guaranteed not to change so much in terms of regulations. It's more in a way to be adopted. In fact, if you don't know, but there are already exchange tradable funds, ETFs, being exchanged on a number of stock exchanges that are based completely on Bitcoin. We don't have a spot one, but there's future ones, and it's something that's growing. And one thing as well, interesting, and that's maybe limiting a bit Bitcoin to compete in this type of use cases, is the fact that Bitcoin is not natively a smart contracts platform. So basically, Bitcoin is just the assets. You send a bit of Bitcoin here, and also there are no guest tokens in the Bitcoin blockchain. Bitcoin is the only asset there. There's no other little tokens to exchange it with. So you either have it, you don't. One thing that are important here is the Lightning Network, which just for this use case of exchanging value from side to side and saving it or etc. Lightning Network is very useful to manage it because it's a lot quicker and cost effective. Okay, we're just going to do a stop here to ask Valentina if we have some burning questions.
Hey, yes, we have. Okay, I don't even know where to start. We have a lot. Okay, so let's go for this one. Okay, so Paul is asking, how hard was it to learn and understand the Solidity coding language?
Well, I'm not the best person to answer about that because, like I said, I'm mostly in the middle of technical and business. So I'm not a very experienced Solidity developer, but I think I've heard some things I've read about 6 months, things like those. Obviously, depends on your background. It's a bit similar to JavaScript, but then the logic that it works is completely different. I just encourage you to start. We have a workshop that you can run that we're going to link to in this presentation. So I just invite you to start, and I'm sure you'll be in a good track.
All right, and then we have these other questions from Paul as well, saying, what do you think about Solana NFTs or other blockchain-based NFTs? Would you say this competition of blockchains is healthy for the space?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be talking about specific projects in terms of if I like them or not. I really encourage you to, I just take this question to encourage you to make this a hobby and start learning about them. I usually say to my friends, it's a bit like the .com bubble. Bubble is not a good example, but there was a lot of diversity, and then some companies made it out of there and some not so much. And to your question about is Solana good or not, is it going to be better than other ones? I just, the truth is no one knows. And there's even because Solana has a big backing from FTX, they may continue to be successful, or maybe that's not going to be the critical factor. It's really just going to be the performance. What's important for you is to study things and to know the differences on a bit deeper level in terms of technologic framing of each of them. For some situations, I keep referring here to Coin Bureau, and they have great articles about everything. So to answer your question, if you go and look up the Coin Bureau review for Solana, and then look up the other ones that you're interested in comparing it with, you'll see that it's not a yes or no answer.
All right. And then Valerie is asking, as a business person, what do you suggest us, business people, to learn about Web3 to be able to operate in that realm?
Well, a bit of everything that I'm putting here, but the main concept to learn is that it's not. That's what I try to do with this section here, to show you that there are many use cases, from multimedia to ludic or more professional ones like we have there, and so just start getting acquainted with it. If you want to be doing trading, maybe understand the supply and demands. If you're a developer, you're going to focus more on the Solidity languages and things like those. if you're in marketing, you're going to think about these things of the micro payments. So it has to do a bit with who you are.
All right, and just to finish, Rushab is asking, well, I have a little bit experience with little dApp experience, sorry. Other than that, a little bit of Python because I'm interested in data science and machine learning. Will you suggest that I should focus more on JavaScript for Web3?
Yeah, well, I came all the way from Pascal and .NET and C# and all those things. Then I went through Python. And when I got to Web3, which hasn't been that recently in terms of hands-on coding, but I quickly realized that JavaScript and TypeScript are big pillars of this. So most of the things I see around are talking about JavaScript-based type of language and TypeScript. Okay.
All right.
I'm just going to stop you there with the questions. I'm sorry if there are many, but I really wanted to focus on time, and we really just have few minutes. So maybe we can stay for a little longer, but I just wanted to complete this run through of things, and then invite you to join us on Twitter, where it's going to be easier to communicate. Okay. So I'm just going to turn to the technical side here on the building it side of things. And actually, I had this little icebreaker here about how things sometimes in Web3 are still running in a clunky way. There's many solutions to a problem, and sometimes people are creating solutions that weren't necessary, or they're not the best, the most efficient. So just to focus on or actually not focusing, but widening our view to the end-to-end functioning of Web3. I put together this type of diagram here, where for a traditional developer, you already are familiar with React. And that's why I colored this one, because it's a central point from whoever's already developing apps. But concepts that we've been seeing, and we're going to see them here as well, is the concept of the wallet and the blockchain. And here I'm going to develop those concepts a bit more to compose them with what is a private key, a public key. So the wallet, like I showed, was living on your browser, and the private key never leaves the wallet, and the public key is your address. And then actually I have this right here. So the private key is generated within your wallet, never leaves it. The public key is generated with one-way cryptography from your private key. So the public is generated from your private key. It's a one-way thing. So out of this one, which is secret forever, through cryptography, there's that one. And that one will serve as your address. So actually, for this section, I already had participation of a friend called Fred from Talent Protocol. I'm going to be introducing him further down, but I wanted to thank him for that. And so when we're querying a blockchain, it's really just free, and you just need to tell the blockchain who you are in terms of your public key. So it's the same thing that I did when I was logging into MetaMask, just to be able to log in my account there. But when you actually have movements, you want to move tokens around, you want to do something that's changing the status of the blockchain, you need to sign your request. And this is when you probably pay a small fee. And this is when your wallet is going to mix a bit of the data that's coming from all the way from the request that you want to do, whatever you want to do there, is going to be sent to your wallet. And your wallet is going to use your keys to create one signature that's only for that request. Okay, so that's what I'm explaining there. Signatures are one time only. Okay, we have some more information here about the wallets, and here an anatomy of MetaMask, which I think is quite interesting. Now, we have been speaking about this part here, and focusing a bit more on the other end, we have the smart contracts. So this is how blockchain moves your tokens around. So smart contracts are a bit of code that runs in the blockchain itself, and a smart contract can have an address. Usually they have an address, which is similar to the smart contracts wallet. For example, I may want to send a bit of token A to a smart contract, and it will do its work and return me a corresponding amount of token B. You may also do in a different use case where you send some tokens to a smart contract and have them be locked there for a certain time. And then later, when they are released, you get a bit more, which is your revenue from having loaned or applied that money there in that contract for a while. Okay. For smart contracts, this comes to the question that someone was asking. There are all these different languages that I am highlighting. The main one really is Solidity, which is the industry standard, especially because there's a lot of other blockchains like Celo or AVAX, and mostly even Cardano or any other one are having side chains that are compatible with this thing, which is EVM, which is the virtual machine where Solidity runs. Then you have Solana with Rust. Then you have Cardano with Haskell, which is more like a big formula, almost like an Excel formula, all just returning yes or no. And yeah, in Tezos, you can go and do Python, but it's basically converting that Python to the native Mitchelson language. Also, in terms of developing here, you're going to need TypeScript or JavaScript, because you're always going to need to develop some scripts and some tests for you to work in. And another thing that you're going to need, and that Fred is suggesting in our workshop further down, is a local environment like Hardhat, which allows you to run a blockchain literally in your machine, and you can create wallets and scrap them and everything for free. It's really just a development environment. Okay, so we saw this part and we saw this part. Now, focusing a bit more on what happens there and how this articulates, how the websites relate to blockchains. So regardless of your stack, when you're interacting with a smart contract, you're going to need to articulate back to your wallet. Typically, dApps achieve this by embedding the logic in the UI itself using the solutions below. So there's different levels of technical depth that you can use. If you use some sort of platform like Morales, Alchemy, or the Graph, you basically have an account there. You use typical API calls, like I'm representing there. And so for these types of services, they do the magic of communicating with the blockchain, and you basically do typical API calls to them, and they do everything. If you want to go a bit more technical, Ethers or Web3.js and things like those, where are they? They are a collection of libraries that allow you to interact directly with the blockchain. So you can get information or alter its state. And what these libraries facilitate that you do is do RPC. So what happens with blockchains is that they're sort of very different bugs than what we usually have. So the typical thing would be a REST call to an API and etc. To really communicate within within a blockchain, you need to do RPCs, which are remote procedure calls. These are a bit ugly on a technical side, more complicated. And so these libraries allow you to simplify that a bit, and they do it themselves. Another line that I'm representing here, which is build your own tools, is you really just do your own code and do the RPC. So that would be a line that would go straight from there, straight to the blockchain. But that's for heavy-duty developers. And by the way, since we're talking about development, none of this that I'm talking about here is blockchain development. The core blockchain development is for the people that developed this server here. So we're all talking just about developing Web3 solutions, not blockchains themselves. Those are for core developers in the blockchain. Okay. Now, just the last part here in the UI. From the UI, it has a very important role because it has a lot of logic, like I mentioned there. And you may also have a server on the side to save some logic, or sorry, some data from your application. But the de facto standard for the UI is React, but just articulates with things, with everything else. One thing here, in alternative to using an off-chain backend, so a typical database and things, is that there are already some, like I mentioned before, blockchains like IPFS or Arweave, where you can save your static files. And instead of having to save them in Web2 or in Amazon, that's where you would put them. So your React and every static things would be saved in these blockchains that would serve to complement your solution. So here we have this, I'm just going to show it for a second. This presentation was shown by Fred, a few weeks back in Ironhack Lisbon. So here he's complementing as well some aspects of Web3 and the technical structure of things, or actually of this talk as well. And he's basically just showing you some commands that you can run. So this is the create React app, which is for the front end. And here, if you see through the presentation notes, I'm running through this myself. I'm only halfway through. And this is a very simple command to install the local environment. Here you have some notion of what the smart contracts configurations are. And you start running it. This is really just a middle ground that communicates in the middle. If you're curious about this, keep in touch with me and with Fred, and we'll probably be able to develop this a bit better in the future. So here he's not being he didn't write everything because this was prepared to be presented over a few hours. But in the end, smart contracts are a bit like this. They're really just things that get data. It's not that different from the typical programming that you do. And I'm going to cut the presentation here because here the MetaMask is a bit what I've shown you already, where you can create a wallet in the MetaMask. The magic thing or the interesting thing here is that it's all running in your machine, and you can have 19,000 tokens to try your solutions with. Okay. So this concludes the building it section. And do we have any questions about the technical side so far? Or can I move on? I just really prefer maybe if we go over this section here to finalize, and then we can meet on Twitter.
All right.
Yeah? Okay. So I'm just going to jump here to the next steps. And so networking and communities are a very important part of your career in Web3. And
really
so
sorry, Pedro, just one little thing. So should we answer the last question here before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just wanted to show this screen here, and then we can do that.
Sorry.
Okay, and then we go to Twitter.
Yeah, sure.
So I just want to leave you with these links here for communities, where Talent Protocol is the community for Fred that did the presentation we just saw, a small one. And there's the Discord there where you can pick a thread to start going and getting acquainted with them. Build Space is actually something that Fred suggested to me as well. And Catalyst is something that I'm looking into, where you have a community that's running self-managed projects to grow the Cardano ecosystem. And here we have a number of other sources. Even though I'm really just giving you one or two, I really want to encourage you, if you want to learn more about Web3, to start following more things. Even if you follow me, I'm always sharing things on Twitter and on the, LinkedIn about these things. So you're probably going to be starting to have some sources of your own that you prefer from this or that person. Yeah, Twitter and LinkedIn, there's links there. The job market, I just dropped some links here where you can see from the most formal one, which is the crypto job list, and others that are similar. There's some articles here about how the employers sometimes work and what happens with them. And this is a bit more informal. Someone made a tweet about companies that are being funded. Someone even made a gathering of typical pays that you can get in the professional job market for Web3. And that is it. So should we do that question now and close up?
Sorry?
Should we do that last questions that you said? And
yeah, sure. Homsa is asking, what are your views on X to earn concepts within Web3 and how to make them sustainable for long term?
My views on what concept?
On X to earn concepts within Web3 and how to make them sustainable for long term.
I'm sorry, I can't read the question, and I'm really not familiar with that platform.
Yeah, well, Hunza, I don't know if maybe you can clarify the question. If you are in the chat, maybe you can clarify a little bit your question, because I don't really understand it either. And also, well, in the meantime, that you clarify this, Jennifer is asking how are we going to be access to your Google Doc? The answer is yes, right, Pedro? After the
Yeah,
presentation.
sure, of course. I'm going to include that link in the presentation. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm doing it as we speak. So if you go through the Google Docs slides document, I'm dropping it right there, right now, and save, and you should see it there already.
Awesome.
Okay, just
And
refresh.
now, if you can maybe explain a little bit how will be the thematic with the Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, so on the widgets on the bottom of your dashboard, you have the related content. If you click the Twitter Spaces URL that you see there, you will be taken to a room. I just need to start that room. Give me a second. Actually, I switched off my phone, so that was not a good move. But yeah, we'll meet there in a little while, and you have the link. So I'll start the room and I'll meet you there. The
All
goal
right.
there,
So,
sorry, the goal of this invitation is really to challenge you to go and attend in the Google in the Twitter Spaces, so we can talk a bit, and you will see that if you start following Twitter influencers about Web3 and things like those, it's very common that we have these sessions, and it's an experiment for you to try the platform.
all right. I just left you the link on the on the chat. Okay.
Yep.
And actually, really sorry, guys, because I saw that I put the wrong link. This is the right link, okay? So you guys can join the Twitter Spaces with us. Before we wrap up, I would like to thank you all for joining today, and thank you, Pedro, as well. And invite you that in case that you guys want to take the leap into tech, feel free to apply to one of our bootcamps to get into tech, okay? And if you guys want to take the leap, feel free to click on the link that you have on the slides, okay? And anyway, I will let the link in the chat as well, in case you guys want to have more information about the different bootcamps that we have, the upcoming cohorts, and so on. So feel free to dig into it, and yeah, see you on Twitter Spaces, I think.
Okay, see you there. Cheers.
Bye, guys. Thanks a lot, Pedro. See
Bye.
you.
Thanks for everything.